everybody. It's been a little while. Okay, so here's the thing, is I should go get it. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. Hi everyone, I'm back. First of all, I wrote a book and I released it last week. It's called Reckless at Heart, and it is the first book in a new Pine Harbor series. So if you haven't read any of my books yet, this is a great place to start because it's very much a standalone. If you have read Pine Harbor, book 7 and book 8 both point in the direction of this book, so it's kind of like book 9 in the Pine Harbor series, but it kicks off a new family group too, the Kincaids. And so this is the book that I was talking about when I started this, when I restarted this channel, when I started creating regular videos for this channel at the start of the lockdown around the global pandemic. This is the book that I was not writing. This is the book that I was in the middle of, that I was really struggling with. And I really appreciate, like Brianne and a bunch of other people sent me a whole lot of really supportive messages. You can do it, you can do it. And then I did it. And I wrote like almost half of this book in May. Like in end of April, beginning of May. So, so this book got all of my attention for a couple of weeks. But now I'm back, and it feels really good to have this book out in the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a paperback giveaway. So if you want a copy of Reckless at Heart, comment in, like, well, first of all, you can comment on this video, period. Like, not all comments are going to, but for any comment in the next week that mentions Pine Harbor. So it can be random. Like if you want to talk about blurbs, but then just like put in brackets like, I love Pine Harbor or something like that in the comments, then I will pull one of those commenters. It can be open internationally, anywhere is fine, to get a copy of Reckless at Heart. I have a bunch of them. I have a stack of them upstairs. So I'm going to mail some of those out. All right. So anyway, I'm back. I released last week, and I didn't do a video, even though I was done all the book stuff. I didn't do a video last week because I spent most of last week listening, right? Like a lot of people, in addition to the global pandemic, were also watching around the world people speak up with one big voice to say enough of police brutality, enough of not valuing Black lives. And obviously if you have followed me on Twitter, it might not be obvious, I should say that. This might not be obvious if you followed me here on YouTube, but if you followed me on Twitter, or follow my Facebook profile, you know I feel really strongly about how we as people of privilege, we need to confront that. We need to understand how we benefit from privilege, and how in turn that privilege hurts marginalized people, particularly Black writers, particularly Black people, but for in our world, Black writers are particularly marginalized in publishing. So the other thing I want to talk about today, before we get to blurbs, which is the point of today's video, is I want to say, if you are a Black writer who's thinking about self-publishing and cover design is a barrier, please reach out to me. And I will help you. I will either help you find the right cover designer if I am not the right person, but if I can make you a cover, if I can do that for you, zero cost, zero charge, it's a skill that I have. If you've watched any of my videos, it doesn't take me very long to make a video, to make a cover. If I can do that for you, I'm happy to do that. So this is, like, I can probably do like 4 of them a month, or maybe 6. I mean, like, reach out to me. Let's see how many people need covers. But every so often I bump into writers who say, I wish I could self-publish, but I can't afford a cover, and I don't want that to be a barrier for anybody who already faces enough barriers in life. So that's something specific I want to do kind of going forward, like not just this month, like just in general. If you see this video at any point and you're a marginalized writer, Canadian, American, doesn't matter where you live, let me know, and I will do what I can to help you remove that barrier in the publishing process. All right? Yeah, so last week I didn't do a video, even though I was done the book, because I spent a lot of time listening. Nobody needs my voice in this, but if somebody can use my art skills, I'm all for that. So hit me up. All right. Today I I want to answer a question from Julia that I got about blurbs. Okay, hang on, I gotta grab my computer. All right, so I talk a little bit about blurbs in Romance Your Brand, but I want to get a little bit more specific in this video. Here's what I said. In Romance Your Brand, I made the scandalous statement that traditional 3-paragraph blurbs or back cover copy, they don't work in the digital landscape. And I have a lot of 3-para blurbs. Like if you look on the back of, look, what is that? That's 3 paragraphs. What am I doing? But we'll come back to Reckless at Heart because it's a really good example of how I kind of tweak it. As somebody of like that traditional writer, how do I work within the digital landscape? 3-paragraph blurbs are standard book craft stuff, and yet I think we should do away with them. In the book, I say that on most of the ebook retailers, as well as Goodreads and other book-centered corners of social media, readers only see the first paragraph, or maybe a tagline and part of the first paragraph. That's it. So I encourage people, including myself, to consider revising blurbs to lead off with a high concept pitch. In the framework of Trope Tuesday, let's consider how we can use tropes for this. Because in the digital landscape, we have 1 second. This is so important. If this is your takeaway, let it be it. We have 1 second for the right keywords to jump out and promise a reader this is exactly what you're looking for. Now, as an author, that is so hard to deliver because sometimes once we have finished writing a book, we no longer know exactly what it is that our book delivers to readers. What's that thing? Sometimes it's useful to do that, to write those down before we get too far into the book, right? Like, and I talk, this is the whole thing that I talk about in Romance Your Brand. If you do all of that like trope level, id list stuff before you write the book, then you have it at the end to draw from for all of this marketing copy that you have to write. So let's say that you have a log line that you worked up at the start of the book, right? So for me, it is single dad, had a kid at 18. Now he finds out that his 18-year-old daughter is pregnant. That's it. That's the log line. So how do I put that at the start of a blurb? You can see, this might be backwards. I don't know. Anyway, the first line there, before I get to the blurb, it says, Daddy, I'm pregnant. Which is like, whoa, questions. Good Lord, I hope that she's over 18. She is. But it creates questions, right? Okay, so the second step, so that's step 1, is like make sure that your first line of your blurb is like, what? Tell me more. The second step is ending your blurb on a hard tease. Throughout your whole blurb, you want to be creating questions that must be answered by reading the book, not generic genre fiction questions like, will they find a path to love? Readers are smarter than that. Readers are smarter than that. Don't do that. I've done that. Don't do that. In fact, the questions that you're creating, ideally, not even in question form. So I wanted to give an example of this. Like I wanted to show you how I actually tangle with this on the page. So I'm going to read you, I actually don't know how best to show this to you in video, but I'm going to read you a blurb of my own. And then I'm going to read you the rewrite, and I hope that this isn't boring. I'm also going to put it up on the screen, okay? All right, so I've got 2 examples. One is a rewrite, the other one is a different, okay, so we're gonna do examples here from my own work. Ah, this is mortifying. All right, so this is my original blurb. Brianne can't afford a crush on her new boss. Thanks to a storm of media attention, she's fled her old life and desperately needs to please the aloof and demanding Astrid Dane. So she ignores the zing of chemistry every time they touch, and the ache inside each night as she tumbles into a cold, lonely bed. But as their work gets harder and their days longer, boundaries crumble, and Astrid finally puts her cards on the table with an unexpected proposal. That's actually not a 3-paragraph blurb, that's a 1-paragraph blurb. Just a really long paragraph. This is for a story that I wrote for Rogue. I don't remember, one of the Rogue anthologies, which is now, has now been retired. And this is a book that I'm thinking about republishing, and so I want to get the blurb right. All right, so here is my rewrite. And it's not a significant, like I'm not tweaking a ton, because I think that the first line does achieve that kind of log line. It says, you know, it's a workplace romance, and it's an employee having a crush on a boss. Those are the tropes, right? So I think that the first line's okay. So let's keep going and see if we can fix that ending. Okay, because I should say, because the end line on my first attempt is one of those like romancy summary lines, which doesn't create a whole lot of oh God, how are they going to do this? It kind of tells you how they're going to do it. So it's too packed. It's too neat. New blurb. Brianne can't afford a crush on her new boss. Thanks to a storm of media attention around her rogue National Parks Twitter account, she's fled her old life in Colorado and is hiding in Whistler, BC, working as an assistant to the aloof and demanding nature photographer Astrid Dane. Unexpected chemistry zings every time they touch, and Brianne aches inside each night as she tumbles into a cold, lonely bed. But as their work gets harder and their days longer, boundaries crumble, putting Brianne's only safe respite from the world at risk. All right, so it's essentially the same blurb, right? But that end line now reinforces the stakes instead of hinting at the solution to the problem. Is that clear? All right. I also layered in more orienting details like locations and jobs. I don't know if that's necessary in the digital landscape, but like maybe. So anyway, as I was revising the blurb, that's something that I did. Okay. Now the second example I want to tell you about is for my next release coming out in July, which I don't have a blurb for. I have been writing this book for 2 years, and I don't have a blurb for it. Right now, I think on the retailers, the book is called Filthy Liar by Ainsley Booth, and right now I think on the retailers it says something like, she's a liar, he's a thief, nothing will ever be the same again. I mean, vague as heck, but it's book 5 in a series, and I don't want to reveal too much too soon to the readers, and also I didn't have a blurb. So what I have done, because now I'm in that tough position a lot of writers find themselves in, I'm at the end of the book, and now I'm too close to it to objectively think of that 3-paragraph structure, which by the way doesn't work anyway. So what I did was I went to the end of the first chapter, and it might not be the end of the first chapter, it could be the start of the first chapter, it could be the start of the second chapter, end of the second chapter, end of the third chapter, somewhere in there. If you have finished your book and you have a hook at the start or end of a chapter, one really good example of this from my catalog is Ruined by the Seal. I can't remember now what it says, but something like Mick Frazier had a 3-step plan for the rest of his life. Beach, beer, sleep. Something like that. That was a pretty good opening line. That could also be the start of a blurb, right? Anyway, so this is for Filthy Liar. This is the end of chapter 1, and I'm just reading it as I have written it. I have not yet turned it into a blurb. Ah, Ellie. He rubs his thumb against the corner of my mouth. I never stopped caring. It's been a long, lonely 4 years. We have a lot to catch up on. Well, F me. That's going to make the disappearing act I do next super effing awkward. Can't be helped though, because I'm not his Ellie. I never was. She doesn't exist, and if Jason starts digging into Melinda the journalist, that won't end well for me either. Okay, where it says effing, it's actually the F word, but I tend not to read that out loud. I write it plenty on the page. Anyway, so that, I think that the things there are some such grabby little keywords in there. 1, secret identity. She is not who she says she is. 2, it's been a long, lonely 4 years, and he still cares about her. We're going to amp up some of that language in the blurb, but that, I don't need any more than that, right? So I'm going to take this chunk of text, and I'm going to work this down into a tight, hooky little blurb, and I think that that's going to be the blurb for this book. I mean, I will report back next week. I might report back on Tuesday, in fact, for another Trope Tuesday video. So this ties into kind of my final takeaway point on blurbs, which is, as I say in the book, don't worry if it doesn't look like back cover copy should. The only thing that matters is if it resonates with readers, and by readers, I mean readers in the audience you are targeting, not readers in general. Like if you get negative feedback from people who are never going to buy your book, ignore that feedback. And then if it doesn't resonate with the readers you're trying to target, try again. Blurbs are one of the easiest things to change. They're hard to write, but they're easy to change. So here's my final tip about blurbs. What the other thing I want you to think about is you should be editing your blurbs as much as you edit your book. You should be doing multiple passes on them. You should be doing a revision pass to tighten, to amp up the vocabulary, to use kind of like action words instead of passive words. Your blurb is the first thing that people read. So make sure that it's a really good example of the best of your writing. I hope that helps. Okay, so there we go. So remember, Black Lives Matter. We need to stop being jerks about that. We just need to do what we can to support the marginalized people among us. If you are one of those people, please know that I want to help you with your cover. I can do contemporary romance, I can do thrillers, I can probably do a mystery cover. I don't know. I'm willing to try, and if I can't, I'm willing to try and help you. I can find an artist for you. I can donate to a cover fund. I can, however I can help. I want to help some people get some books out there that right now they can't afford to publish. And I will keep you posted on that too. If you are somebody who offers publishing services and you also want to help, or even better, if you've got something organized that I can just throw my hat into, please let me know. I'm not trying to reinvent any wheel here. All right, this ended up being a long video, but I think we covered some good stuff. I'm happy to be back. I'm so happy to be back. And it's one more pimp for Reckless at Heart. This book, I really like this book a lot. Owen is grumpy and Carrie is sunshiny, and it sets up a band of 5 brothers and their extended family who absolutely love each other. This book is about kindness and about listening and about being gentle and good to each other. And the world needs some of that right now. So there we go. Happy writing, happy cover designing, happy blurb revision. Please let me know how it goes in the comments. And remember, I'm giving away a paperback copy of Reckless at Heart, so just randomly add in the words Pine Harbor somewhere and I'll include you, and I'll pick a winner next Tuesday.